the way we're going to do this is I'm going to give everybody 5 minutes to sort of introduce themselves, introduce the company, or I guess the company that they have created and the plugins and products that they're selling, and tell us a little bit about the story of the genesis of your project. And then after that, I'll open it up to questions from the audience, and I'll throw in a few questions of my own. So be thinking about what you might want to know from a commercial plugin developer, somebody who's out there, already living the dream. So.
Hello. Right. My name's Jonathan Dokovic. I'm from Systems Bliss Inc. or sysbliss.com. I started the company a few years ago, actually, to do just some side consulting work, some flash pieces for random people that call me up. Then I attended AtlasCamp last year. I was actually talking to JC, who was working on Community Hopper at the time. And he mentioned to me that he thought people really should have a workflow designer for Jira. So I went home and I thought about it, and it seemed to fit, what Sysbliss is about, which is trying to meet roadblocks in technology and allow people to get their jobs done quicker. So, forget the technology's there, let's get our jobs done. It seemed to fit the model. And I agreed that there was a whole market. So I did some research, I started a project, and I thought it would be a 3-month project, actually. I thought it couldn't be that hard, right? It's just a workflow design. Then I realized that there were no diagramming libraries for Flash that you could license in the Studio. So then I had to write my own diagramming library. And as I got more and more into it, I realized I had to write more and more libraries. And after about a year, I think the product's been launched for 3 months now. It's doing okay. I'm pretty happy. And through the experience of writing all those libraries, essentially now I have building blocks for other applications. So, yes. Quite simple, quite pretty much.
That's interesting to me. I'm Valerie Liberty, and some may know me as Balsamic Val. I tweet as Balsamic Val. I work for Balsamic Studios, LLC. We're an Italian company, but I work here in the Bay Area. Our company, Balsamic, our flagship product is Balsamic Mockups, and that was invented by Peldi. And Peldi and I worked together at a little company called Macromedia, where we met almost 10 years ago now. I was the executive assistant to the president, Kevin Lynch, who you may know, he invented a product called Dreamweaver, and is now the CTO of Adobe Systems. So I was in the catbird seat, sort of front seat of the roller coaster during the internet expansion and contraction of the 90s and early 2000s. After the Adobe combination, Peldi and I became a little bit sad to be so far away from the customers. So Peldi, who is a genius software inventor, decided that when he was on his Flash project, that he didn't have a good library for mocking up software workflow and wireframes. So through a turn of events, his home in Italy, he was of course here in the Bay Area, his home in Italy, his childhood home became vacant, and his building here in San Francisco was sold, so he was looking for a place to live, and decided that it was time to make a move and start Balsamic Studios. It's kind of counterintuitive to take a startup out of the Bay Area and back to Bologna, Italy, but that's just what he did. So he started that in 2006. June 2006 is when he launched. And it was just initially invented to be a Confluence and Jira plugin application. People begged him, actually, really had to convince him to make it a standalone desktop application. It's built on Air, the Adobe Air platform. It's, of course, cross-platform, platform agnostic. And now the desktop platform is our highest seller, or Numbers have been very, very great. We are so excited and enthusiastic about how successful we have been in this economic environment, and it's not meant to brag, but more meant to inspire people that there really is a lot of opportunity for small micro ISVs. We're 3 people. So if we can inspire you in any way, I'd love to talk more at length about that. We believe that life is too short for bad software. I think you guys all can agree with that. So yeah, it's just a great time to invent. So go on.
I'm inspired. So, my name is Eric Engels, and I'm one of the co-founders of a recently launched plugin called AtlaScan. And where we kind of started our journey was about a year ago with myself and my co-founder. I had just finished up a stint at one of the large web players here in the Valley, and he himself had finished up about a year earlier. And both of us had kind of a passion towards both communication and content applications. And so he had been doing some work implementing Confluence inside of a large company, and we just started brainstorming around this industry vertical, how to really start to bring together those two things. Because essentially, if you look at Confluence today, one of the major drivers of that is how you communicate to other people what you want them to do, or what you want to basically get out of it. So, long story short, we started going down this route of looking at different ways to kind of exist in Confluence, and the plugin architecture, which, if you look over the last few releases, has really started to solidify and become a powerful platform to release applications that can do a lot more than they could a year ago. We started to reach out to initial customers and really weren't scared to. I mean, that's one of the things, if you're looking at starting a business, the first thing you have to do is just start. Because so many people will think about it, but the people who actually do it are the ones that can succeed. And so we started with our first customers, actually landed a deal with our alpha product back in June, which was really hard to tackle, especially when you're early in your feature development cycle, because suddenly you can get really driven by those customers that might start to get a little bit too specific in your roadmap when you want to reach out to the widest possible audience. But it's also healthy because you got to check yourself on what you're doing. And so over the summer, we had a really good opportunity to work with a number of different companies, get the product out there, find out what was missing, and then recently, like I said, 3 weeks ago, finally get it out. And it's been successful to the degree that people, when they start using it, realize that this is a tool that helps you communicate with people and get content created, which is what our goal is. I mean, one of our taglines is get everyone involved. And that's really the goal in Confluence, is getting everyone involved. And with that, you'll get content creation. So that is a quick intro.
Hi, my name is Stefan von Eichenscheid. It's a long name. I'm from Germany, Stuttgart. And I'm one of the founders of Scroll, the Scroll wiki exporter. That's a tool for Confluence to export Confluence pages into different other formats. I used to be an Atlassian user. I've used Jira from version 1.04, I think, and I used Confluence from version 1.0. Introduced it to the company I was working with back then. I told everyone to put all the documentation into Confluence. This worked very well because our documentation grew, and there's great stuff to have it in there. Everyone could look it up in the wiki, but eventually we had to give away our API specification to external vendors who wouldn't have access to that Confluence installation, and then we saw that that was not possible back then. Very nice manner, I'd say that, like that. So I created an issue in the Atlassian Jira, Confluence 762, asking for a docbook export. Charles Miller back then told me that this wouldn't wouldn't be a good idea for various reasons, and that Atlassian probably wouldn't implement that feature. So I started my spare time project and tried various approaches to implement that. For example, like parsing the key and converting it to a doc which didn't work so well. So I tried different approaches, and eventually I got it working and found some other person who joined the development team, Tobias. Some of you might have heard of him. We got that whole scroll wiki exported to a stage where we presented it at various Atlassian user groups in Germany and got very positive responses. And yeah, then we sort of were progressing. We both were working full time for different employers. So eventually we said, okay, we're now gonna need to found a company to actually sell it, because we don't want to get like the product called the liability and stuff being handled. So we founded a company and in May this year, and got really positive feedback from various customers who just use Scroll as a plugin. But we also got a lot of feedback from companies who needed to have additional extensions or customizations, just as Eric just told us that they wanted to have very specific features and they are still want to have it. So everything works quite well so far. As I said, we've been doing it part-time, and it works even that well, so that I've decided to do it full-time starting in November. And I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about being here, and I really like to learn from Balsamiq how you should do that.
Well, congratulations, that's great news that you're going to go 100%. So any questions from the audience right now? Okay, I can open it up then with, so a few of you touched on this a little bit, but I'm interested to know, how did you know when you had an idea that was worth pursuing, that you wanted to jump in and actually try this for real? Did you sort of do any research? Was it a gut feel? How did you make that decision? Yeah, you guys can go in any order you want.
For me, it was I got the idea from JC, and then I had never actually created a Jira workflow, and so I tried to do that, and that took me about an hour and a half to 2 hours to create a basic workflow from scratch, and that's basically when I knew, yeah, there's got to be a better way to do this, and so that.
So we had a fun experience. So I actually did a startup. I ended up working at Yahoo for about 2 years after the first company we did got acquired. And that first company had a very traditional kind of Silicon Valley approach, which was we went out, raised $1 million, started the company, went after, it was actually the first online video editor in Flash. So the experience around that was very, very fun. And as Ben and I got together and we started going out and figuring out what are we going to go after, we actually went and talked to this kind of the normal path of talking to a couple of VCs last November, which if you guys remember what was going on in November, was one of the most entertaining experiences of our lives. Just at that point they're saying take 36 months of money and we'll take 98% of your company. So with us, it was actually a very, very good experience because one, and this is very applicable, if you're looking to find someone to work with, I think one of the best experiences you can do is just start working together. I think Ben and I spent the first 3 months, I was still at Yahoo actually, just spending kind of nights and weekends riffing on stuff, like figuring out, okay, what can we do, let's start talking to people, just even though we weren't technically starting a business, we were starting a business. And there's no substitute for just moving forward. And what that led to in kind of the aha moment was we just started building. I mean, literally, early prototyping, I don't know if people are familiar with companies like IDEO and some of these people in the Valley, but I mean, all of them, one of the things that I read that was kind of inspiring is they brought in a NASCAR pit crew into a hospital, and that's one of the ways they actually made an efficient product for a hospital. So similar to that is whatever product you're looking at, you just need to go in and like just think of what are different ways to attack that problem, what are new ways to attack that problem, and that's what we ended up doing. And once we built that, got in front of 2 or 3 people, we finally had that aha, which was, hey, you guys have done something that makes sense. And it's until you start doing it, you're never gonna have that moment.
How many different sort of prototypes or ideas did you go through before you had the aha?
Just if I count the different receipts of coffee shops over those 3 months, I mean, one of the reasons we ended up with Atlassian or Confluent specific is it has a very open architecture, which is easy to get those ideas implemented because you can be in a bit of a vacuum. If you look at the concept of our product, which is in a standalone sense, you can live there. It can do everything, but that's the problem. Is it'll do everything? Well, it has to do something. And I think we finally honed in on that thing it was going to do it, and that's when it came out.
Awesome.
Yeah, for me, it was quite easy to find a product I wanted to create because I just needed it. And as I said, I started in 2004 developing it, and I put it aside for months or even years, waiting for someone else to create a solution for that. And it just didn't happen. And I talked to so many people, talking to them about this product or this plugin I was creating. Everyone said, yeah, we need something like that. We really need it. And then after so long time, we like finally got a prototype working and demoed it at Atlassian user groups. We were really excited about it, so it was quite obvious that we should take it to the next step. And then we got, based on that prototype, we got feedback from various people. For example, Sarah Maddox sitting over there, she gave us a lot of input, and others, which is really helpful to us. And so it was clear to us to build it on top of Confluent because Confluent is a platform which is available in almost every company, and it's also easy if you create just a plugin for Confluent because all those IT shops in that or IT departments who need to operate that system, they need to install a new software somewhere. That's very hard for them. They need to buy hardware, set it up, install the operating system, install the new system, the new software, and so on. Confluent on the plugin, you just plug it in and it's working. So this was really the one reason why we used it.
So that's a really great question. How do you know you have an idea worth pursuing? One thing that we immediately recognized was there was nothing successful out there. And when you work in software development team and you don't have anything to mock up your wireframes, and you have to mock up your wireframes all day long, it was an obvious need that we had. Peldy taught me a great quote by one of our favorite comedians, Steve Martin, and he said, "Be so good that they can't ignore you." So he took those 2 sort of concepts, like do something that is needed, but do it really, really well, stay very, very focused, and lastly, be in love with the problem that you're solving. Because if you do it well, play your cards right, you're going to be solving that same problem for a very long time, right? So really be passionate about this problem that you are building a tool that is going to solve. So I think the other guys have said really the same thing, and that is just do it. Just get out there, put something out there, throw the spaghetti against the wall, see if it sticks, tweak it. People, we have found our community is it's the same community that you guys have actually. They're so supportive and so enthusiastic, and we love using the Get Satisfaction forums and getting feedback directly from you guys. You know, people tweet at us and they Skype us and they email us and they throw rocks at our windows. You know, it's really, really great to have that sort of consistent validation. So that's how you know you've got a good idea that's worth pursuing. It's something that you see that is needed and something that needs to be done well.
Thank you.
Great question.
Anything from the audience? Brendan.
I have a question about sort of getting the word out about your plugins, like what you found sort of works and what doesn't, and we have kind of a specific community here that's easy to reach in some ways, but might present some challenges. wondering sort of where you got your, you know, your 80% value out of 20% of your effort.
So I'll just repeat that for the video. So Brendan was asking, what's the best thing that you've done in order to get the word out about your product?
Can I just start with so two things. I wanted to correct something. I remember that when I was introducing our company, I said that we started in 2006. That's not right at all. It was 2008. So delete that video. We have a great marketing budget of zero, and we just spent some dollars on some stickers. If anybody wants a sticker for your laptop, we shop the blog and made some stickers. But we have the same type of viral communication with our users that we do for our marketing. So as you may know, if you're an open source contributor, we give you a free license, no questions asked. If you want to do a demo at your office, we give you a free license and one for you to give away, because we love to give stuff away and we think that it's fun for others to give stuff away. So that's been very, very positive. If you're a student, we give it to you for free. We call it a do-gooder. If you're a do-gooder of any kind, if you work for a nonprofit, we just believe in, Kelly and I both come from the same type of background where we just believe in treating people the way we would like to be treated, and we would love to have been born to privilege and could make mock-ups and open source application and give it away, but unfortunately we live in the Bay Area and I don't know what that means.
Oh, no.
Not talking to me. So consequently, word of mouth is something that has worked brilliantly well. So if you are at all inclined to have a public face, we like to compete on usability and customer service. And there's a couple companies who are coming out in the same space as ours, and validates our space. We're pleased as punch to have them. But we believe that we have wicked fast response time, and it's worked very well for us.
Sorry, before you pass on, I had a follow-up. So how many licenses have you given away versus compared to how many you've sold?
Oh, that's a great question. So we have about 10,800 paid customers. We would like, our goal is to give away a 1-to-1 ratio. Right now, we've given away about 0.7 to 1. So I'm trying to give, spread the word. If you know any nonprofits who are interested in, our focused solution, spread the word. I'm val@balsamic.com. You can send an email to me, or free@balsamic.com. Tweet us. But yeah, we really believe in raising the bar. In the software industry, you make it once and you sell it 1 million times. And so we'd like to lead the charge for people who are able to, for companies who are able to give their software to people who maybe can't afford it. Beldy did a great blog about software piracy. And there's a certain number of people who are just never going to buy software off the shelf. And so we would like to just give it to them then. Don't ask them to take the pirate path, just have it and go with God and do the right thing.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
What about you, Jonathan?
Well, so I think it was only 2 months before I had a release of the final release of the workflow designer. I sent it to a group of people I met at AtlasCamp and some Atlassians, and they all gave me some really great feedback. What I wasn't expecting is when I did release it, most of those people tweeted the release, they blogged about it, so there's some good word out there. I posted to the AtlasCamp forums. I got some Google AdWords, which actually turned out in my favor. The click-through rate is pretty high, which is interesting. But then I thought to myself, maybe not everybody is as adamant about checking the plugin exchange or reading the Atlassian forums as I am. So I started to think, where do the people that are using these apps hang out online? And so I went to tzone.com, I went to serverside.com. Every developer/admin-centric website I could pick up and posted some links there. Let's say within the first month, the server side just, it was trying to keep my server. They sent me so many clicks. So again, I just kind of thought to myself, where are the people that need to use this software other than Atlassian?
Awesome.
I definitely agree with both those comments, so I won't repeat those. I think what you can add to that is just know the channel. Like, I think Atlassian has a very specific channel. They've been very successful at it, and that is something that you should just align yourself with and go that same route. So that's something that's been successful so far with us, and obviously we're very new. In terms of kind of marketing, expanding past that, yeah, I think the trend right now is if you can get those conversations, like insert yourself into the conversations as many places as possible. In the case of the sort of side with Twitter is very, very powerful if you're on that making it the right way. And then from right now, I think there's a very good opportunity with the startup app licenses. What is going on there? Because you've got really just a huge influx of people taking looks at Confluence. And smaller teams, obviously, we found that a lot of those people have larger installs. These are now people who've been enabled to get a quick start. There's an opportunity right there. So,
Don't want to add anything.
Okay. Okay. More questions? All right, so the next thing on my list was one of the trickiest parts about selling commercial software that we found and I found when talking to people like you is deciding exactly how much to charge for that. So I'm curious to know what your thinking is about pricing, how you came to the decisions you did, and especially what sort of feedback you've gotten from the community.
Basically, we had a look at the conference license fees, and we didn't like set a percentage or anything, but we knew that we couldn't charge like more what the conference license fee is. So we decided we sort of tried it out for the 1.0 release and had like around 30-35%, making it a little bit cheaper for the smaller licenses, a little more expensive for the bigger licenses. But that's the way we went. For the next release, it's going to be more interesting for us because we're including a commercial FO processor. It's like the engine which creates the PDF files. It's called XEP from a company called RenderX, this is like a commercial component. We have to pay royalties for that. So we have to increase our volumes, our prices, and now we're going to go with 60%. And I think that's just what we have to do for that, and it's probably the best to. After all the license changes, or the price changes with Confluence, probably the best is really let's make it relative to the Confluence license 100%.
So we're the same thing. We're a percentage. What we did to figure out kind of initial calculations was for us in our space, which is content management, task management around that. You've got online programmers like Basecamp and other ones, which can be parallel systems. Ours being in line. We looked at breaking down the cost outlets. That's one analysis we did. The other was marketplace, what other plugins were charging is a good thing to look at. And then ultimately feedback. We, so far with ours, has actually been totally fine on pricing 50% of conference licenses right now. And really you have to start somewhere. One of the things I know is it's definitely, the more you can get out there and compare and have comparable magnitude, the better off you are.
I think in addition to that, we were also asking ourselves, what would we pay ourselves? And how much would we expect someone else to charge for that?
So, again, you guys have done a great job of explaining the process. We did the same thing, and then of course we have our desktop license, which is $79. And the way we came up with that is, Pelly went online and saw that somebody came to him and said, hey, these other guys are charging $79 for this, mockups application. How much is yours? And Pelly said, $79. But right now what we're talking about is the pricing for a hosted license and what that is going to look like and how we're going to give maybe a credit for people who already have the desktop version. And it's actually a fairly complicated question
especially when you have a small tool, and when you're in the international marketplace, right? For an American software developer in the Bay Area, $79. We hear complaints from people sometimes that, you know, it's an error application, I can't believe I'm going to spend $79 for it, and yet they do. But the times that we really scratch our heads is when it's somebody from, you know, a developing nation, and they say, you know, it's going to take me 3 months to save up $79. And so, you know, that's another reason why we do these do-gooder licenses so generously. Because pricing really is, you know, it's a complex question when you're in the international market, like all of us are. So it's tough. It's tough. Good question, though.
For me, I actually struggled with this a lot, and I still struggle with it a lot. Only because I couldn't really do a percentage of the host application. I couldn't say, you know, my plugin is 50% of your Jira license, because not every Jira user is going to use the workflow designer. It's a very specific admin tool, so if you have 100 Jira users, you may have one that's the admin, right? So I went back and forth. We emailed with Jonathan a lot, gave some advice, and they settled on a per seat licensing model, which is now the Atlassian model, which has worked out well, and it's actually given me a lot more flexibility than I had even expected. So now, you know, I can do things on, if you buy 3 seats or more, or if you buy 10 seats or more, I mean, I can do promotions based on the number of users, I can do discounts. Another thing that I'm just kind of tossing around my brain right now is that not only is it per user, but a lot of people only need to create maybe 1 or 2 workflows. And so I'm still struggling with, you know, is there a way to do per use, per workflow licensing model, which I haven't really settled on yet. So it's a tough question. Like I said, I'm still struggling.
Well, I can say for our part that we're always really excited when people try out different pricing models. The Atlassian plugin community seemed to sort of gravitate towards mostly one model, which is a certain percentage of the base license fee, but that's obviously not the only one. And the fact that we sort of started with that was almost arbitrary. So, I get really excited when I see people trying to validate other models, because I think there is an enormous amount of variety out there that could work for different applications.
I just wanted to comment on the balsamic license model, in that we have a very large Confluence instance, of which a very small percentage of users are actually software developers. And the model that balsamic uses, we have a 1,000+ user Confluence license globally. And it doesn't make sense for us to pay 1,000+ user price for a lot of plugins to software development. So balsamic model has been really easy for us to sort of get the foot in the door on software that seems really interesting to get that deployed to the users. And if it catches on and user grows, then we can go more separate from our Confluence users. So that's my question. So I would encourage other software developers to have a per user plugin model that would per user.
That's great. That's great. What we don't hear.
Yes.
We can't hear you back there. We couldn't hear the question really.
Just the question?
Yeah, that would be.
So this fantastic shill right here was just saying that for balsamic mockups, let's say you have a node with 500 users, but you've only got 25 or 10 software developers who need to use balsamic mockups. So we'll sell a very small license that will allow a small number of people on your Jira or Confluence server to use balsamic mockups. And of course, we have a viewer that people can see the work that is completed. So we definitely enthusiastically endorse that and hope that other people follow that same model, which is your Confluence or Jira license doesn't have to match the plugin vendor. So that capture your thoughts.
Yes.
That's great.
Terrific, thank you. Dan?
How do you manage to scale support without having it into
So just, again, to repeat for video, he asked, how do you manage to scale the support that you have to do without it impacting your actual product development?
I think we're actually solving that right now with our launch. And first thing I can say is practice. With launching our beta, we've had an opportunity at a time to get those systems in there. And there's a lot of really simple SaaS systems today. I mean, one of the reasons Zendesk is an example. One of my friends who has a SaaS company has been using email. He's up to 150, 160 SaaS customers, and it's a disaster watching this guy's trying to do support. And so I think the first thing is get ahead of it, test out systems, figure out how to keep it organized, because you'll constantly, when you start a business, grow, start to cope, finally organize it again. And by the time you're done organizing, you're coping again. And so the process that we go after is, yeah, just get ahead of it, get a system in there, see if it works, and then as it gets bigger, you're going to have to reinvent yourself. But at least if you're getting ahead of it, you have a chance.
We don't have that many customers yet, as we just started, but I guess what our plan is to keep the product really simple and don't add a lot of features, and if like doing customizations and everything, that's going to be on top. It's like consulting.
So I think those are really great. First of all, it's a great question, right? When you've got all these customers coming at you, if you are shipping buggy software, you will be just chasing your life away. So one thing is we release every week. Every Tuesday we release, and so we fix bugs that we hear about through Get Satisfaction and through our email. And then also we're very lucky because Pelly and Marco, our development team, are in Italy, and I'm here in the US, and so we are really close to follow the sun support. So by the time those guys log in their morning at my night, they're able to see what I've done. And so we're able to, because of our distributed team, stay, if not ahead of the customers, at least on top of them. So, but that's a really good question. So release a lot of bug fixes every week is our advice.
So that actually brings up another question that I was curious about. The Atlassian user community is obviously global. How do you guys deal with running an international operation sort of on day one, when you have to sell in different currencies, or deal with different legal entities, or even the question of trying to support people around the globe on different time zones? How have you handled those challenges?
I was complaining just now at my table that I spent about 5 hours yesterday on the telephone with the IRS and Intuit for our taxes, because it is complicated, and we are incorporated here in the United States, but we're an Italian company, and it's complicated. And you are an international company de facto, the minute you start selling things. So yeah, I mean, you better be ready. And I think anybody who gets into the micro ISD or ISV space is already of the work mind that you're tethered to your cell phone, laptop, Twitter already. So I think it's a good hand in glove fit, because we're already used to working around the clock. But that's what it is. It's all time zones, and it's all people. And like I said, if you want to compete on customer service, you work with your laptop in your bed like everybody else here, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good example. I mean, we're, again, on the newer side, so we're learning those things. I think some advice is keep it simple. Don't try to get too creative in terms of finding, because there's, especially when you're new, you have to kind of pick your battles. So I think, like, from a payment processing standpoint, you can go with something like a PayPal, which is going to be more expensive, but I also know I'm going to get coverage across the globe. And so that's a decision to make.
We got our CEO, and he's handling all this, which is quite great for Tobias and me as being the developers. We can really stay focused on developing.
I like that CEO.
I'm not, no, I don't know. Okay.
Oh, can I just make a plug? So we do use eJunkie, and we use PayPal, and we use FreshBooks, and we have a little issue with FreshBooks yesterday, and I love a company who answers the telephone, and they're so great there. So for small companies, Intuit, I couldn't get an answer to their mistake. However, the small companies that we use have just been outstanding in their service and in their understanding of all our issues. And I'd be happy to talk to anybody about sort of the nuts and bolts backside of that kind of payment processor, because it can be a jungle, but it's the bread and butter, right? So you want to do it right. And like you said, you don't want it to go down. That's the last thing you want is for people to have issues. So.
Do you guys have any sense as to what proportion of your customers come from the U.S. versus other places?
I would say about 20% are in the U.S.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I'm always getting emails in the middle of the night. So, and I would say that it was kind of, I wouldn't say shocking, but it was definitely something I didn't expect, is how many customers I would have outside of the U.S. immediately. And I can just echo the same sentiments. I decided to go with Google Checkouts, that'severything.com for accounting. So you gain a lot by doing that. I would also say, you can't just get a Google Checkout account and expect to feel safe with them. So, get yourself a lawyer. You're going to have to incorporate it anyway. Get yourself an accountant. There's definitely, I can't figure out all the legal issues that are going to come up. So I sleep better knowing that I do have a lawyer and I do have an accountant for the business. So, yeah.
Great advice. Okay. Any questions from you guys? All right. So one thing I was curious about, and I'm sure the people in this room are also curious about, given that you're here, but how has the community of Atlassian developers and community of Atlassian users, besides providing your customer base, how have they been helpful in developing either the product or the business?
I'd like to start and thank two persons who gave me a lot of input. One is Dan Hadiker from Adaptalist. He's really great. Got any questions on the Skype development chat? And Roberto, I haven't met him personally, but he must be here as well. We'll be here later. And all the other people on that chat. It was really really great. If you got stuck with everything, with anything, they would help you. And also on the forums, it was really great. And also like having direct contact with developers at Atlassian, at least kind of having direct contact. It has been a really helpful experience.
I would echo the same thing. Just the response in the forums. One thing I'd add is just don't be scared early on to try to get that first customer. Try to get out there and get that response, because nothing replaces that.
Yeah, I would echo those two sentiments. The community is outstanding and is kind of unfailing in their support and enthusiasm. And get it out there, because people, I have seen sort of the tenor of the emotional economy right now is people are rooting for the little guys and will really go the extra mile. It's amazing when we get emails that are just so long and thoughtful, and people really take their time to help you help them. It's that cycle of, if you release a great tool that helps people, it just, the rising tide just raises the boat. So you guys have an outstanding community. Good for you, good for us.
Yeah, and I'll just add, like I said previously, I actually got the idea for the workflow designer by attending AtlasCamp. I met with a lot of people. I sent out a couple of betas, like I said, to some Atlas campers, and I got really good feedback. And by good feedback, I mean I got really good bad feedback. So, I appreciate that people were honest. Igor told me, wow, that auto layout just sucks. But then he gave me a list of other libraries to go look at it. And I looked at it and I figured out what needed to be done and I got it fixed. So, it's good.
I mean, that's absolutely sort of one of the things that I hope for from AtlasCamp every year is that the connections that you make here and the discussions you have might spark the next awesome idea that turns into a great plugin a year from now and might have some of you up on the stage in 12 months' time. But, well, actually, sorry. Anything else? A question from the audience? Okay, so I wanted to, I guess, probably wrap up with this last question, which is, looking back over your experience thus far, what would you have done differently? What mistake would you correct if you had that opportunity right now?
So I largely underestimated the timeline for my project. I could have done some more research to figure out and plan it out better. At the same time, just building the app is enough. You have to have a professional looking website. You have to have a payment processing. You have to have the license management libraries. There's a lot of extra stuff rather than just having the app. And I was trying to build both of those at the same time. So I split floppy back and forth, but I think I definitely wouldn't have done that. I probably would have focused on one or the other in sequence, so I wasn't driving myself crazy.
I don't really think that we have anything in particular that we would have done differently, except the one big harsh that we've had is working with U.S. California governments. So get a savvy accountant or a savvy attorney, because it really is complicated. And you would think with all of the multinationals that are out there, that it would have been easier to find somebody in our budget to help us get all of that worked out. And it's actually been very time consuming. So find somebody you trust and it's not too expensive and get them in place early on. That's really great advice.
I agree with that. I think with us, looking back, you can, when you have a small team, you only have so many resources. It's easy, especially when you're developing a product, to start to hone in on certain problems and staying with those problems possibly too long. So kind of looking back with us, I think both of us are happy with where we're at, but you can always improve on that and making sure you're just doing what should be done at that moment. Because with small teams, if you spread yourself or basically don't allocate yourself in the right ways, that can be a pretty big thing. So.
We basically, me personally, as I developed all this, developed Scroll as a spare time project, did a lot of things which weren't really effective. So if I would have made my mind up more earlier to really sell it and everything, I guess I would have been more focused. This is basically what I think from time to time that I should have just bring it to the market maybe 3 years earlier. But I think that's the way it is, and I'm really happy that I can do it now.
So are we. Any last questions? Okay, well, then I want to thank our panelists very much.